Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sentinel Sports Extra. I'm Lake County Sentinel publisher and sports editor and founder, Tim Shire. We have Joey Schneider here with us today. He's our high school sports writer and does some features and a little bit of news. And Tommy Shire is here. He does our social media and photographer for the Cavs. So what we're going to do today, we're going to do a recap a little bit of the 2024 high school sports season that we just, the fall season that we just finished. And then we will give our football awards. We'll announce our football awards. We'll give them to the kids individually at a later date when the awards come in. And then we'll move on to, we'll talk about the Browns for a few minutes. We'll talk about the Cavs and the Guardians, and then we'll finish talking about Ohio State. But so let's start with high school. Once again, it was a really good year for Lake County high school football.
Yeah,
I believe 7 teams made the playoffs. Was it 7?
How many are there again?
I think it was 11.
I think it was more than that. Pretty sure
it was 8. 8.
I think it was 9.
9? Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who didn't make it. I don't think
South didn't make it, right?
Or Fairport made
it. South made it.
North and Harvey didn't.
North didn't make it.
Okay, so we had 9. 9. That's
North
really something. Lake County is really a good football area in Ohio. I think it's very underrated.
The best area, yeah.
So we didn't, nobody won the state championship, but they got far. A couple teams made it to the final, but it's just, I thought it was a really good year for Lake County high school football.
Sure.
For me, covering Wycliffe, they came out of nowhere. To be 7-3, that it was a perfect example of building a program from scratch. 2021, they had 1 returning starter, and nobody else basically on that team had played football in high school before. So, and then you see 4 years later, they make the playoffs and they gave Toronto everything they had in their first round game, coming up just short. So that for what I covered, them, it was pretty incredible. You guys each saw them once too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole year was good. I think the first 6 or 7 weeks that I covered were all extremely close games. That wasn't until I think Wycliffe was the first team I covered that, had blew someone out. And
which one did you cover, Brooklyn or Beechwood?
Brooklyn.
Okay.
I don't even remember what.
So you covered Beechwood.
Oh yes, I did.
So
Beechwood has athletes, but they just,
they're having trouble on the football side now. Beechwood is. Mm-hmm. They're competitive in every other sport, but football's been a tough thing for them recently. And they had some good years, but recently it's been tough. There was a lot of good football in Lake County. If you want to watch good football, and you live in Lake County, you don't have to go very far because there's, schools in your backyard that, and look, Harvey and North didn't make it, but North made big improvements.
And Harvey was 5-5.
And Harvey was 5-5.
Yeah, Harvey.
They're in, luckily if they drop a division, if they were in a division higher, they probably even have made it. But.
Well, I mean, and you can make the argument for a lot of schools. South is Willoughby South is on the move up. They, a crazy young team in a lot of games. I think they finished 3-7 on the regular season. But they're going to be better next year.
A lot of close games too, though.
Yeah, a lot of close games.
They were in a lot of games.
Yeah, Riverside, same thing. They were great last year, had to reload this year. And they're gonna have a really good team. They're gonna have a good team next year. Madison went 7-3 after they lost a whole bunch of people. I mean, there was just
Riverside lost a lot of, and what did they end up, Riverside?
Riverside ended up, I believe, 3-7 as well. They were in a lot.
3-7 or were they 4-6? Because they kind of fell off at the end a little bit, but they started better than I think some thought they would because they had lost a lot of players.
They lost a lot of players.
When you have a guy that's at Ohio State now,
Dom Kirks,
you lose him, that kind of your defense might suffer a little at first,
Right, and then you lost. They lost their quarterback Mikey Maloney and Brady McKnight and Isaiah Walter and Antonio Bugliotti. Just great, really good players who are playing in college, whether it's D1 or D3, and they still they changed coaches. Coach Jeremy Ishmael took over for Dave Boers. And I think they're going to have a good team next year. They were young this year.
They're always competitive to good. They have very few down years, I think. So, So, it was good to see. We covered all of them at least once, which was good.
And we covered almost twice.
Yeah, some of them we did cover more than once because playoff games and. So, and then when we have, the matchups when it's two Lake County teams, those are good. North and South.
Right. Madison
South
and
won that
South.
again. Madison South. Yeah.
Was at that.
So, but we, excuse me. What would a Sentinel Sports Extra be without some coughing from me? It wouldn't be. So, let's give our awards for high school football this year. We'll start off with the offensive player of the year. We're going to give that. It's the Joe Miller Offensive Player of the Year award. Joe Miller was a huge sports fan. He wasn't able to play sports in his life due to some disabilities, but his disabilities never held Joe back. And he is a great example of what a human being should be. So we decided we're going to name the Offensive Player of the Year award against him or after him.
After him. Yeah.
Yes, after him. And this year's Offensive Player of the Year, Joe went to Mentor, graduated from Mentor. Joe was huge at Mentor. Joe is actually in the Mentor Athletics Hall of Fame because he was such a huge supporter of Mentor Athletics that we are giving the first Joe Miller Offensive Player of the Year award to Mentor's Scotty Fox.
Well deserved, really.
You guys saw him play.
Yeah, extremely well deserved.
I did not see him play, but from everything I've heard things that I believe are important when you give an award. I heard he's a really good person. A kid on our travel baseball team is friends with him, and he told me that he's a really good person, which to me matters a lot, especially if I'm going to give an award with the name Joe Miller on it.
Exactly.
And he's a great player.
Yeah,
he's going to West Virginia. He's committed to West Virginia. But the coach was fired, so I guess that could change.
I believe
right now he's committed.
He's still committed, but he opened up his recruitment.
Yeah, I saw that. So, but congratulations to him. I hope he goes on to big things. I mean, look, there's a Mentor quarterback in the NFL right now, so you never know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad to give the award to him. And so next, we'll move on to Defensive Player of the Year. That award is the Bob Golick Award. Former Browns defensive lineman Bob Golick. He was a Lake County kid. grew up in Willowick, I believe. And I think that he's a good person to name the Defensive Player of the Year award. And Joey, who is our Defensive Player of the Year?
Our Defensive Player of the Year is Riverside's linebacker, Matt Priest. Just a pleasure to cover this kid for I don't know however many years he's been playing. Just one of the nicest young men you'll meet. Extremely smart. I'll make sure his grades are up. Is a team leader. Was a locker room leader, and on the field, when anytime you wanted to see the ball, wherever the ball was, he was there. He could get interceptions, force fumbles, fumble recoveries. I think he had a couple. I think he had a couple touchdowns in his in his career. I think he did have one this year. It's whenever they needed the ball back, he was always there. He was a ball hawk. And he's just the epitome of he didn't play both ways. He was defense only, linebacker, and when it was crunch time and they needed a stop, Matt Priest was in the middle of it every single time. Me and Tommy went to the South Madison game, and he had that huge interception. I believe it was later in the game, third quarter maybe.
Riverside, South? Is that Riverside against South?
Oh, I'm sorry, wrong. Not against South. I can't remember what game it was. They needed a turnover. And
they all run together.
Yeah, there was a lot.
They really do.
They needed a turnover, and he got the turnover, and they ended up winning the game. So he's that type of player, and like I said, great kid, good family, and I'm really proud to be able to give the award to him.
That's awesome. Okay, so now we'll move on to we're giving a special teams award. Special Teams Player of the Year award, and that is named after Derek Sharp. Derek is a Perry graduate, went on to graduate from Ohio University, and then he went in the military. He was a career Marine, and just one of the best people you'll ever meet. I've known him for a few years now, and he's just one of the best people I've ever known. And he was the reason we named the offense or the Special Teams Player of the Year award after him is he was the CBC Punter of the Year. I believe it was his senior year, and he's very proud of that award, which he should be.
I think he was all state too. No,
he might have been.
Pretty sure he was.
He's just he's just a positive person. Tommy can tell you that. Tommy played for him baseball, and he's just he's a great human being. And so we're going to give the Derek Sharp Special Teams Player of the Year award to Logan Ruskin of Wycliffe. Logan,
for sure,
was dynamic. I mean, he was a great, he played running back for Wycliffe. He was the punter. We were saying the games run together. And I'm not very good at remembering things anyway, but one of the few things I remember from the Wycliffe season covering them was bad snap to Logan. They were at like the 40-yard line, their own 40. The snap went over Logan's head. He recovered it at about between the 5 and 10-yard line. You'd expect a kid to just fall on it. No, Logan ran it back for a touchdown. And it was one of those moments where you're like, wow, this kid is really special. And the thing about Logan is he doesn't know how good he is. He's a great teammate. Wycliffe coach Morris Porcello told me that Logan is one of the best teammates he's ever coached because he's a great teammate. And again, like I said, when I give out awards, I want to give awards to guys like that who are great people and great teammates.
How many punts did he return? Didn't he have like 4 or 5 punt returns for a touchdown?
Oh yeah, he had
this year?
punt returns for touchdowns. He was just amazing, and around end. He had an around end in the playoff game for a touchdown that just stunned the Toronto press box. It stunned them. Like it was right before halftime as time ran out. And they were stunned by it. And they were thinking they couldn't tackle. They were having trouble tackling. And I was like, no, the kid is just good. And so it was really a pleasure to watch him play, and he didn't play football his whole life, which is crazy because if he had, I don't know where he'd be at this point. He's just really something to watch, and he's just such a nice kid too. But so that's our Special Teams Player of the Year award. Our Coach of the Year award is the Ray Malavic Award. Ray is known throughout Lake County for his talk show, and he did PA for many places in Lake County. Mentor, when I was in school, he was at Wycliffe. I was a teacher, and he did the PA for Wycliffe. He coached sports, baseball, softball, volleyball. He's the one who told me when Mitch Trubisky was playing youth football in Mentor, that kid's going to the NFL. So
I remember telling you that.
Ray is something. He did Lake Erie College, PA. That's where he told me that about Trubisky. Mm-hmm. And but Tommy's going to announce our Coach of the Year.
So the Coach of the Year this year is going to go to Wycliffe's Morris Porcello. To me, I went there and I'd go to football games and watch stuff even after I graduated covering for you. And 2020 they were 21 of their 22 starters were seniors. They were absolutely amazing. And then the next year they got one returner, and it was rough, and it had been rough for a few years, and he turned those kids from the time they were freshmen to now, he turned them into football players. And it's not even just this year. It's impressive how he turned those kids into football players and made them a winning football team.
And he's a guy who really cares about the kids too. He's a coach who really cares. He really does. I've had conversations with him. He really cares. So that's our Players of the Year and our Coach of the Year. And I'm sure in 2025 we'll see some more dynamic athletes and some great coaching. Who knows who will be the Coach of the Year next year? You don't know. But we're going to move on now. We're going to talk for a couple minutes, like 2 minutes. We'll talk about the Browns. And it's been a rough year for the Browns. And let's go about 45 seconds, Joey. What do you think they need to do to move forward?
I think they need to identify players that maybe are on their way out. They're going to have a high draft pick, which for a long time was the Browns fan Super Bowl, the NFL draft, and here we are again. They got 4 picks in the first 3 rounds, and you draft well. They restructured Watson's contract, so they're going to have some money. Got to go after
not a
guys.
lot of money, though.
Well, they'll have enough to go after some guys that you got to find guys that fit your scheme. And I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm sure Tommy, I know you're a big draft guy too. And I'm sure me and you'll be doing some draft stuff here.
We're going to be doing mock drafts with Tommy and Joey. Tommy, what do you think they need to do to move forward? You got 45 seconds.
So, if I was the GM, I would, first round, this is what I would try to do. Not that this would work. I would try the Max Crosby wants to leave the Raiders. The Raiders want a quarterback. What I would do is I would say, here's pick 3. We'll take whatever pick they are, 7 or 8, and we want Max Crosby and that pick.
You're gonna have to give some draft picks up though.
Maybe. So maybe third rounds, right?
Yeah.
But you get Max Crosby, right? You get the 8th pick. You then draft a defensive tackle or an offensive tackle in the first round. Then you go get more offensive line help, and maybe you go with a quarterback in the third round if maybe if Dylan Gabriel falls that far.
Carson Beck.
Okay. Well, Carson Beck's
he's terrible.
That's
a Browns quarterback.
He'd fit in the quarterback room with Watson very well. So my thought is, and I've told Tommy this over the last couple of days, they've got to fire the scouting director. I think everybody wants to fire Barry. Everybody wants to fire Stefanski. You can't fire Haslam, although Leah, Justin Bibb is crying. But you have to get rid of whoever has been in charge of scouting since Andrew Barry took over. They have had 4 significant draft picks, or they have had 4 significant guys who've been good since he's been drafting. That's terrible.
A lot of picks.
That's terrible. And I know a lot of Clevelanders don't want to hear about Tampa Bay, but Tommy, I was telling him the other day, 20 of their 20 starters on Sunday were drafted. That's crazy. Baker Mayfield and the center, Bredesen, guard, Bredesen. They were the only 2 that weren't drafted that started. It's unbelievable. And JOK is the only guy that I think, since he's been there, has really been a great. Or was he even his? He wasn't even his.
Yeah, he was.
That was the guy before him, right?
No, that was him.
Okay.
Greg Newsome and JOK.
Okay, so there we go. We got
Emerson was good until
we got that out of the way. So let's move on to some positive. Let's talk about the Guardians for a minute. For about 2 minutes. We got the Guardians. They had a great year in 2024. They moved on. They won a playoff series for the first time since 2016. They fell short against the Yankees, but they had some great moments in those series. I guess what happened in that series is some big home runs in the playoffs. The front office might know now that you win with power. I defended their philosophy for years. I'm not going to lie, but you got to have more power. And I think it sounds crazy trading Josh Naylor will help them have more power, but I think it will, because Kyle Manzardo will play more. John Kenzie Noel will play more. And they re-signed Carlos Santana. I think those are big moves. And I think that's going to give these young guys more of a chance to play. And I think it helps. And the one thing that I'm like, I hear this, and I'm not only you, Joey, but I've seen this from people. I trust the front office, but obviously if people are always questioning the front office, they don't trust the front office. The front office is one of the best in baseball. Mm-hmm. You give this front office that Dodger payroll or that Yankee payroll, they're winning 5 World Series in a row.
Well, in all fairness, I think if you give any 3 of us that payroll, we're putting together a team that's going to win.
Yeah, I really think.
Yeah, but those guys, but those guys are really good. This front office is really good.
Oh no, I agree with you 100%.
And let's put it to rest. We'll never put it to rest. But the Dolans are not cheap. They spend 42% of the revenue.
They're not
big spenders, okay, no. But they're not cheap. People need to understand the revenue, and their revenue was $310 million in 2024. What I saw the other day, the Dodgers' revenue in 2024 was $579 million.
It was 535. I saw.
Okay. Well, It don't matter.
But so either way, what was the Guardians' payroll this year?
I think it was like 120.
It
something
ended
like
up.
that.
I think it ended up at 145 actually.
And that's my thing too with this whole like okay. That is exactly what the payroll is, right? Like the Dodgers made 200 million and we made 200 million. But they make so much, they got so much more revenue that they can just spend that and still make
What
the same
percentage
amount.
you think they spent? They spent 46%. So they spent 4%
That's
more
what I'm
than
saying. I'm agreeing. I'm saying
Yeah,
like,
it's not a lot.
the Dodgers, a bunch of teams made over 300 million, but the Dodgers made over 500 million.
Yeah. So we're going to move on though here. We're going to move on from the Guardians. We're going to talk about the Cavs for a couple minutes because we want to finish with the Buckeyes and the game today. Or as a guy, when I once visited Arizona, said, the Buckeyes. I don't know. It was odd. But so the Cavs, they're 29-4. Tommy said to me the other day, they'll get respect when they win the championship. I said, I don't even think they'll get respect then. Like, no one's respecting this team. Who do they have to beat? Like, who do they have to beat? Does the 6-time championship Bulls teams have to reassemble in their 90s form and the Cavs beat them for people to respect the Cavs?
If they beat the Magic twice, people will start saying.
Well, I'm not even
the
Magic.
The Thunder. The
Thunder. That's who I'm thinking too. Yeah, the Thunder.
They play on the 8th and the 18th.
Yeah, so that's the one that I'm looking toward. I really am.
I honestly, I'm seeing more in the last week. I've seen a lot more people putting respect on the Cavs name.
Yeah, but not
a little bit
it's
more.
No, some nationally, but more seeing people from other fans of other teams going, well, this Cavs team is insane. And I think that I don't care what a lot of the national people have to say when some of them, I look at like last night, JJ Redick said, you have to play a near perfect basketball game to beat this Cavs team right now.
Yeah, he's right. What makes me go on?
Well, they're getting. I mean, Anthony Davis talked so highly about Jared Allen. It
would have been nice if he shook hands after the game, though. Him and LeBron leaving without shaking hands. That's crappy.
Right.
That's crappy. And I've defended LeBron a lot of times, but that's crappy. You got
fans who are recognizing the Cavs for how as good as they are, players recognizing, coaches recognizing. So I don't care what the national media has to say because the people who matter recognize the Cavs.
The people who know are scouts, and I've talked to a bunch of scouts this year, and they're very impressed. So we've got less than 2 minutes to go on the show, but Ohio State will be playing today at 5:00 in the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl. They'll take on Oregon. They lost to Oregon early in the year. The famous Will Howard slide. I'm going to say I said this since then. If they play them again, they'll beat them. And I believe Ohio State wins the game today. Tommy, what do you think?
I think it's going to be a blowout either way. Either Ohio State doesn't show up or Oregon doesn't show up because they're too damn confident.
Yeah, they're pretty confident. Joey, what do you think?
I'm going Ohio State. I can't. After that win last week, the way that they bounced back.
Yeah, but they got to show up like that because that's the first time I've seen them show up like that in 4 years.
Right, but I think that loss to Michigan.
Showed up against Georgia.
But they lost to Michigan 3 years in a row before that, and we thought that would fire them up to beat Michigan.
And now you got
to do that. So
right, but you got a team full of seniors who, and I'm just saying, if they show up like they did against Tennessee, Ohio State's winning the game.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I
think you're right.
It's going to be.
They show up like that, they win by 2 scores.
I think Tennessee was stunned.
And Tennessee has had the best defensive line in the country. And Ohio State just blew them out. They were a non-factor. So if Ohio State shows up like they did against Tennessee, Ohio State's moving on.
Okay. So I think that's it for this preview show for the year. I will see you everybody soon when I do a Cavs post-game and pregame next on Sunday. So until then, everybody take care and Happy New Year.